Hey everybody, it's Barney Quincy, and we're back again. I did my hair for you again, just like I do every day. And we are, just so you know, Carla and Sarah and everybody else who was wondering what's going on here. Um, there is this thing that is called Mercury in retrograde, and I'm going to tell you two things. One, you don't want to completely give your power away and say, oh, well, this has an effect and it's just going to affect everything. But number two, whether you believe it or not, it has a massive effect on our planet, being 70% water, and it changes the solar and lunar influences. So just all that to say that technology is being quite challenged. So if you're having computer issues, communication issues, that can be affecting it. But I'm just telling you this because Alecia is on with us, but we had to switch her over to Zoom because it was just not working. Her mic wasn't working. So let's test her out. Everybody who is in and on, let us know. We have Sarah all the way from the UK. Get a cup of tea, Sarah, and you're going to definitely want to make sure you stay up for this. It's 10:50, but I give you permission to stay on for another 40 minutes, okay? So we're going to bring on Alecia here. Welcome, Alecia.
Hi, Barney. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. And we have Kathy from Morocco. That's the first time. It's pretty awesome, Kathy. So please let me know if you can hear Alecia, okay? Because I know you can hear me, but I'm hoping that you can hear Alecia. So say something else again, Alecia.
Hello there, everybody. Okay. Thank you for hopping on.
All right. Okay, good. So let Alana saying, hi, Alana. By the way, I did get your message, so I'll get back to you, okay? So we got some thumbs up. We're good to go. We're over. So I'm just going to skip right by the typical, or not typical, what I'm doing when it comes to the housekeeping items. Just know that this is being recorded. We will take your questions. It'll be on Facebook, and it'll also be on our YouTube page. But I want to jump straight into this because this is a huge, big, hot topic, and there's nobody else that I could better think be on the call with you guys today to share from a very vast experience, and her name is Alecia Evans. And I would like for you to, Alecia, just give people a quick, brief background in case they're like, who the heck is Alecia Evans? Because there was a time in my life when I didn't know who you were. So can you just do that briefly and give us a brief intro?
Sure. So my clients lovingly call me the heel on a leash and, to walk in an easy, safe, respectful way. And I just kind of combined the healing, which is what I do with how I teach the dogs to walk on leash, with the energy healing, which I do in person and at a distance. And that's how I got my name. And I've worked with thousands of animals all over the country and changed bodies, behaviors, health conditions, help my clients when it's that time, to know directly from their animals. It just makes it easier for them. And I love what I do, and I love hanging out with animals. I was just on a horse for a few minutes before I got on this call, so that was really fun.
Awesome. And I forgot that you're on another platform, and I muted myself, which muted you.
So did you want me to say that again?
Well, yeah, well, no, I think I got the most part, but it said they missed how you got your name. I think you said your clients affectionately refer to you as
the animal healer, Heeler.
Right.
And that was a result. I started out, I had a chocolate lab, coincidentally, who was named Barney.
Yeah.
And Barney was like, he was a chocolate, he was just from another planet. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to train him. So we went to training classes, and unfortunately, Barney had his own agendas. So I used every tool, and every single tool hurt my dog. So I became an animal communicator to understand this better. Then I got into energy healing and body balancing. And eventually, because of a promise that I made to Barney, I invented a product called In Sync, which is a harness that teaches dogs and their humans to walk in sync with each other really easily. It's very respectful for the dog. I think we'll get into talking about harnesses and harness differences. And, the main reason I created it was because it is one of the safest tools that will not affect your dog's gait, get out of it. And it's just, they can sleep in it, they can run in it, they can walk in it, they can bicycle ride with you in it, they can go swimming in it, and it won't affect anything in their body.
Right. Which is pretty cool. So we'll definitely get in. I think we need to get into that, and also, or we will get into that. But what I'd like you guys to do is post. There's no guilt at all, or nothing. That's why I said the great debate, because
it's 18 hours.
Pardon me, my computer's reminding me that it's 6 p.m. Eastern, otherwise known as 18 hours. But there's nothing here. I need to switch the screen view. That it doesn't matter. We can see you.
Switch your view? Because I see you, but I see a picture of you. I don't see you.
I need to turn that on then. I just thought I wanted to decrease the video feed load. But basically, I was just going to say, leave a comment, guys, while I'm trying my best to do this here. And I think it's going to mess it up, Alecia. So you have
to.
Yeah. Just pretend.
Okay.
Just pretend.
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
And then I'm just looking at your pretty face.
Yeah, well, you're good. But same, likewise. I'm looking at your pretty face. So the question is, and I would like you guys to put a comment down, are you in the leash or collar? Because I think this is important.
Well, harness or collar. Because the leash is that one end, but the collar is
a collar,
what's going to go around the neck, or a nose halter, or a prong collar, or a harness.
Right. Thank you for the correction. I was checking to make sure you're paying attention. So it just put it down.
Then there's also there's front clip harnesses, and there's also back clip harnesses.
Okay. Well,
just if you guys want to let us know what you're in,
what you're using, and if you have any questions about it, just because there is, I know I had no idea. I mean, there's just like before I talked to you, I'm like, how the heck did I not see this? And I see people now walking their dogs, and then they're like yanking on the leash and then pulling the harness, and I'm just like, I'm like, watch the trachea.
Yes.
So tell us.
Well, watch the trachea, watch the cervical vertebrae. It can be a whole can of worms.
Yeah. Now your presentation, I think both of them have now went live, right? In the summit.
Yep.
So for those of you who are tuned in live and you're signed up for the free, or you're a paid member, you can go back and watch Alecia's presentations. I think you have a better appreciation for them now after just getting more engaged like this. But if you haven't, and you're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Can you tell us, because we can see you, just give us your, the brief summary of the reasons why, when you look at the dangers of using a collar, because I think that there's a lot of people, Alecia, that, that's why I said there's no guilt or shame or none whatsoever, because there's a time when you were like, whatever, it was this thing that you knew, it's a tool, and it can serve a purpose maybe, but when you're just the general day-to-day, taking your dog out for a walk and or running and stuff, I think it's a walk and sync system harness works better. But explain to people why, and presume that somebody that's watching has no idea.
Sure.
The dangers.
So the first presentation that I did was the missing link, what your dog's body can tell you about their behavior. So when I was working with Barney, I had no idea, because I was being told by a professional. We started out with the choke chain, and you were supposed to walk and pop your dog, which just didn't feel right. And then we went to the nose halter, which he just tried to scrape off his nose, but he actually ended up injuring his neck, and I had to take him to a chiropractor. And then we tried the prong collar, which he just froze, and I tried eventually, and I only did it once, I tried a shock collar, and that was like the worst thing I could have done to this dog. So please, no shame, no guilt. Necessity is the mother of invention. Like, I ended up learning about this, unfortunately, through my dog. But as a result, have been able to help over 18,000 people with their dogs. So one of the things that does not get taught to trainers or even to pet owners is, I don't even want to say pet owners, dog humans, is actually, what's actually happening on the inside of your dog's body. So, right, so you have this tool that goes around their neck, And the presentation that I gave, it really walks you step by step by step through what's actually inside. It takes care of all of the different layers. So our dogs have an energy field just like us. They have chakras just like us. They have vertebrae just like us. They have muscles just like us. And then, you know, all of the different components that we have inside of us are pretty much inside of them. And for most people, you'd go, if I said, well, would you put a choke chain on yourself or your kid? They'd be like, oh my God, no. Because they kind of have a sense that there's delicate equipment in the throat and the neck. And yet, that same delicate equipment is not being addressed with our dogs. So
right.
it's very, very important. And where I try to teach from is the depth of understanding. Know what's going on inside, because a lot of the times I've seen animals get injured. Like the first thing that happens with a puppy, when you put a collar on them, generally they back up. Well, when they back up, they could be dislodging like C1 or C2 or knocking them out of alignment. Mm-hmm. And you might not see it right away, but then you don't understand, why is my puppy so hyperactive? Like, why can't they calm down? Or why are they so mouthy? Or why are they kind of like ADD? And it could be because they actually knocked the little bones in their neck out, right? Now they're not stumbling all over the place, and they don't need to go to the veterinarian because they're not like sick. But this is stuff even the veterinarians don't talk to people about, you know? Because I've gone into my vets and I've said, well, what do you think is the difference between, you know, collar and harness? Well, I don't know. I'm not a dog trainer. Like, well, no, but you did go to vet school for 12 years, and I'm sure you know anatomy and physiology way better than I do, right? So what I did in the presentation was just lay out the basic structures of, we've got to know what's going on inside our animals.
Yeah.
Then you determine the equipment, and then you build equipment that honors and respects what's happening. Because like what you mentioned before, like even about the trachea, right? That's like your windpipe, right? And it's made of cartilage. So you pull that thing too hard, or your dog yanks because they see a squirrel and they damage it. It's sort of like cardboard, right? A cardboard box is pretty sturdy, but as soon as you dent it, it's like it's done. Now, the cardboard box isn't going to die off, but the trachea does, and that's like later in life. You will see animals with esophagus issues. You will see them with like laryngeal paralysis. My awareness of it, of watching over years and years and years, the connections between training tools and bodies and health, is that it's actually happening from the get-go. And this is what I'm looking to prevent, to keep our animals really, really safe and healthy. Right. You know, because you can knock a vertebrae out, you could damage the trachea, and then on the sides of the trachea, like on the sides of the Adam's apple almost, is the thyroid. That's the master gland for the immune system of a dog. So if you have a dog that's constantly pressing on that, you could, you know, labs are notorious pullers.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you also see, though, in older age, a lot of labs also become hypothyroid, or they have skin issues, or they have allergies. And Dr. Peter DeBias is doing a great job of connecting, you know, like what goes on in the throat and the neck with what you could literally see in health conditions.
Yeah.
So I want to educate, you know, from that standpoint of, we're not just training the dog in behaviors. It's about 10% of our equation. We've also got bodies that we have to make sure are aligned, just like ours, because like if they're out of whack, they're going to feel uncomfortable, and their behavior could literally be a result of what's going on in their body. And a lot of the times I'm seeing this coming from the different training tools. So I just, nobody's really educating. You know, yes, we know we shouldn't put a collar here, or, you know, harnesses shouldn't cross here. But the reality is no one's really teaching pet humans or dog humans the actual anatomy and physiology, and like the why you don't want to do this, because you just don't want to take the chance.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple, and I know you can't see this. That's just the challenge with our setup today. But I'm going to change this view here for 1 second and take my name out. By the way, Karen's like, who's taking pictures and texting them? That was me. I was taking a picture because I'm this platform. I love BeLive TV, but there's times where it shows that there's no viewers, and then sometimes I can't see the comments. So I took it and texted to my wife because I need to take a picture to show them what's happening, what I see as a administrator or like a moderator of the call. So just so you know. So just gonna a couple comments here, and again, I guess see on your end, but I want to
see them. So you're gonna have to read them.
Yeah, I'm gonna read them to you. So Joanne Bodine, all the way from Alberta. That's not an Albertan accent, but if you're not in control of your dog with a collar and leash, the dog pulls hard, or you do, then yes, you can harm your dog. And what she said is saying that if you don't, this other, because if you're not walking your dog constantly every day, then it will be more challenging to be in control. Because I know you said that before too, Alecia, that being consistent with the walking and schedule, and that it's going to be even more. So she basically is saying it's going to be even more challenging if you're not consistent walking your dog and you have them on a collar. Not true. No?
Well, with a collar, yeah, you're going to land up with more inconsistency. I mean,
right,
your goal
and that's what she's saying. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, when you have your puppy, you the basics, right? The basics, like sit down, come, stay, and walk with me. You want to have those down as early as possible. Now, here's one thing that's interesting that I started recognizing with Walk and Sync. Because of the way it's set up and because of how fast the dogs literally teach themselves, you don't necessarily have to be consistent. Like, you've got to go out every single day at the same and once a day or twice a day for 30 minutes, and you have to work on this. Right. But consistency can also come in the form of when you do, like, let's say you can't take your dog out for 2 or 3 days, or, you know, like on a walk, right, but they get outside. If you just stay consistent with this, doing the same exact things every time you take your dog out, and that they learn immediately, like, oh, this is what it means. Like, when I'm on the harness and the leash, I don't pull. And if you just stay consistent during those times, even though it's not consistent, like on an every single day at exactly the same time, you will still have a great benefit. And I would agree with Joanne if she's saying not necessarily on a collar, because the biggest thing that happens of like, why do dogs pull? Because they can, and because we let them, right? We're constantly changing leash length. You know, they get caught up, different things happen. But when you have them on a fun clip harness, and the one cool thing about Walk and Sync, when I designed them, have handles that keep it completely consistent. You have hand grips on the leash. So it's a consistent walk every single time, and your dog realizes, oh, I can't break a boundary here. Right. You know? Right. Then all of a sudden that disappears. So I agree with you about lack of consistency. Yeah. And I would also say, and you can be really consistent too every time you do go out and walk. So that is, you know, you're sort of setting it up from a leadership perspective of, this is the behavior I expect when we go do this. Right. Even if we don't do it every single day. Right. So that, do you know what Karen commented here? She says, my Goldens do fine on a martingale. Do you know what that is? Yes. Okay. So the reality is, you can have a collar on your dog anytime you want, but with the anatomy and the physiology that's going on inside the body, a collar is not the safest way to walk and train your dog. Because that one time that your dog goes, whoa, you know, and lunges or pulls or yanks you, it could throw their body out of balance. Right. So I'm all for having collars on your dog for tags, you know, and I'm all for, once your dog is trained to back off of pressure, fantastic. If you want to use a collar, use a collar. But the collection point for a dog is actually right here at the chest. In the sternum. It's not the throat. Yeah. So this, where a front clip harness should be clipped, and not necessarily a martingale, because a martingale will actually make their legs like cross and it will pinch their shoulders. Yeah. It's just going to be much, much more effective, and it's a lot quicker of a learning time than a collar. Right. Okay.
So that's good. So she also then commented, I need to change this view so we're not cutting off our faces, because how I have it set up on the screen and then with the comments, sometimes our faces get cut off. But do you know why my male golden walks much better when he has a branch in his mouth? Question mark. We keep a branch near the driveway, not a stick, for him to grab and carry on our way out. So I don't know.
So, okay, now I'm going to sort of switch into animal communicator mode, if that's okay,
yep.
versus trainer. So from what the dogs have taught me directly, I'm not talking behaviors like the behavioral sciences and all that stuff, but from what the dogs have taught me directly, they say, one of the two of us has to be in charge. Now, we're not talking dominant leadership. We're just saying, think about not alpha like dominant, aggressive, angry.
Right.
Think about alpha as the way they describe the alpha brainwave state. It's calm.
Yeah.
It's relaxed. It's confident. And if you compare it to anybody in, high performance jobs or high performance athletes, basically what it is it's being in the zone, right? When you're in that alpha brainwave state, you have a much clearer picture and a much bigger vision of what's around you. So technically, all it does is just put you in a position to keep everybody safer, and you're confident. When your golden picks up that stick, he's proud, he's got his thing, he's letting you do your job of, being, I don't want to say like in charge over him, but he's calm and relaxed because think about what retrievers were meant to do, right? They were meant to go and get the ducks or the fowl and bring them back, and they're proud carrying something in their mouth.
Right.
So when he carries something in his mouth, he feels calm and confident and relaxed because it really literally goes back to so much of the genetic makeup of him as a golden retriever.
Yeah,
and so he feels good and he feels proud and he's like, okay. And my people seem to like it. They think it's really funny when I have a stick.
Yeah, I can see that. I can just getting a vision about that with a golden retriever carrying is kind of like they're feeling just part of how they're
proud.
Designed. Yeah, like how they're designed and kind of created, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of neat. I don't know if that resonates at all, Karen, but it definitely does to me. And then she had another mention and a comment as an extension to what you had said about the martingale. She said, I used to use a no pull harness and it didn't work for me. The martingale was like power steering the first time we put it on. So before Alecia mentions her thoughts on that, I'll just tell you that when we had our little dog Lucy, unfortunately she's no longer with us. She transitioned, as Brent Atwater would say. And we didn't know what happened, but she did. And I bought the system from Alecia because I was like, wow, like this is pretty freaking cool. And I had no idea. So I didn't compare and go out and I'm just like, I just got a strong sense, not just because Alecia was part of the summit, but I'm like, it makes sense. The mechanics, I was looking on her website, I watched the video. She's got some great stuff, which by the way, I posted it up here earlier, again, with whatever's going on with this platform. I can't leave a comment during while we're live, but I can after. But if you're interested and want to go look, on a side note, I love this system and I bought it for myself. So I think that if you want to compare it, it's you can see Alecia has a lot of stuff on her website. You just go to dogwalkandsync.com and I put it up there on the screen, but then she has sizing charts. And this is important because there's another comment another lady was mentioning about, will it work for my dog? Because he or she's really huge. I'm going to pull that up in a second. But the final piece was, what are your thoughts? Because I feel like this is a progression. And I'm not certain that it has to be an either or. I think that it can kind of serve, and I'm kind of like with being in the world of essential oils, there's, great about with having a holistic approach to health.
Totally.
And there's the homeopathic approach, there's the allopathic and the holistic approach. And I don't think that it's just one way or the highway. I think that both serve. And what I'm kind of hearing you say is that it's like a progression, that people maybe start with a collar and then they go to this other, I don't even know what a martingale is, but does that make sense to you from your experience about, like using a no pull harness and then went to the martingale, it's like power steering. What would you presume that Karen could experience if she tried the walk and sync system from The martingale, and because I think it's like a bit of a progression, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's, you know, you have to first and foremost,
Yeah.
if it's working for you, use it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if that's what works for Karen and her dogs, that's fantastic. Like I don't have any judgment on it.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
If that makes sense to them, it's fantastic. Usually I will start the puppies out immediately. Like if I'm going to put anything on them, I put walk and sync on them immediately if I can catch them as puppies, just simply because the biomechanics of it, I know are so safe. It's not going to hurt any dog. It's not going to do any damage. It's not going to, mess with any of the points and the plates that need to close.
Yep.
And so that's the one part of it. You know, when I look at it strictly from having worked with my dog who got hurt time after time after time, I wanted something that if I landed up creating something, and I promised him I made him a promise that I would make walking and training safe and respectful to the dogs and make the communication, I would vastly improve it. Because I did not blame Barney for it. There was so much stuff I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my progression over time.
For sure.
And then when I started looking more and more just from literally like the physiology, okay, this is not like woo woo, it's not out there. It's like, this is actually what's contained inside that fur. Yeah. That's when it really made so much sense to me to, how do I create something that makes sense to the dog, that makes sense to the human, that keeps the dog in proper alignment, that helps the human stay in proper alignment, and somehow, very simply, the two understand what each other is asking for without even having to really use treats. Right. You know? And so, you know, progression-wise, I always start with safest first. Right. And that's why I would start with the front clip harness. Now, I don't know which front clip harness that Karen was using. Yeah. There's many different ones out there. There's ones that go across the shoulders. There's ones that go down, like mine goes down at the base of the neck, down through the center of the body and up and back around behind the shoulder blades. Right. Because I know that if I can stop the dog here, right, and sometimes too, it's not just the harness. That's kind of why I paired it with the leash. Because sometimes, like if you have a dog on a front clip harness, that's even the right harness, but now you have them on a flexi lead, okay? It doesn't mean they're going to stop pulling. We're using the harness and the leash for a tiny bit of pressure and release. Right. Right. So that the dog just understands, okay, I'm not going to choke myself. Hey, I feel a little pressure. We're not going forward. Okay, what other choice can I make? So I also created it with the intention that it be most understandable to the dog. Like it's not going to take them a long time to figure it out. And what's so crazy with that is, I mean, we have dogs learning in 35, 45 seconds. Oh, yeah. Okay, I can't go forward. Cool, I'll back up. Is that what you want? And it's like, oh my God.
I was just going to say, when I first heard you say that, and I mean, I'm going to be very honest, so everybody else knows this
like,
too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, like, whatever. And then, so when you go to her site, there's a page, pretty easy to find, but there's a couple videos on there, and she has this little girl. They did this fun little video, and it was pretty cute. But I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, that's really smart for marketing. Like, that's pretty awesome for demonstration. It shows how the product works. But then when I got it, I'm like, when we put Lucy on it, I'm like, that's exactly how it is. So I wasn't really too sure myself until I actually used it. But that, and this, I wanted to make sure I didn't skip by this question, because this is important. So Sarah Merlin was saying, I have a deep-chested Otterhound. I've tried both. What are your thoughts on large breeds? Ethelda is 36 kilograms and pretty lively.
Well, the walk and sync harness, we started out at 4 pounds, and then we've got 6 different sizes. So it goes all the way up to 150. And I've put it on 160-pound Great Danes, and in literally about 3 to 4 minutes, completely different dog. I've put it on 150-pound Mastiffs, and this one Mastiff was very funny. His mom, So the two things that I generally talk about with behaviors, right, is the tools that we use, but also the energy that we convey in our leadership. And that was the second presentation that I did, was how your energy affects, you know, in sync with your animals, how your energy could be affecting your animals.
Right.
So this one very, very large Mastiff who was about 6 years old, his mom was having issues with him, and he was snapping at dogs at the park. And so when I met with them at the park, I said, so what's the deal? She goes, I couldn't help it. He was so cute as a puppy. I just let him do whatever he wanted to do. Because when I put the walk and sync system on him, all of a sudden he went, no way, man. I don't feel like doing this. And I said, well, you know, we've got one or two choices. Because you can't
we lost you there for a second.
Sorry about that. Right. You can't be this big of a dog and then going after small dogs at the park. So we have to learn to get some rules back, that you can't just do everything you want. So his mom's kind of sitting there and she's like biting her nails. But while he lays down on the floor and he's like throwing a temper tantrum. And I said, so let me guess, you probably started training him in about 3.5 months? And she said, yeah. I said, well, he's a 6-year-old dog, but he's still stuck at 3.5 months. And so just by using walk and sync, within 25 minutes, he was a completely different dog. I mean, and this was, I don't use treats when I train, and I don't, you know, force dogs, but I will hold a clear boundary to say, okay, either we're going to go forward or right now we're not going forward. Right. And that's really all I say. And then they start shifting their behavior, you know, based on where I'm at, of saying we're going to go forward or we're not going to go forward. Right. And it was just, it's pretty fascinating, because even with some of the larger breeds that go bananas, because of how the harness and leash is set up, and because you have flat handles, these flat rubber handles that are on the leash, it actually makes the human feel more secure. Because when you have a big dog that pulls, and one of two things, like you either do not want to choke them, right? Because that's my first reaction, is almost like, oh, no, I don't want to choke you. Like, stop pulling. Or, you know, just that frustration that builds up. Like, that's like literally what happened with me and Barney. He was a big dog. He was like 95 pounds, and he was pulling me all over the place. And finally, after a while, I just got really pissed. But had I had walk and sync with him, and this is how I actually came to that whole sort of awareness. I read a Linda Tellington Jones book, and she talked about doing some kind of wrap with the leash around the dog. And I had always worked with Barney, you know, by the neck. And when I wrapped the leash around him, and I know I didn't do it properly, because I was like, how do you walk with a 6-foot leash like wrapped around your dog? This doesn't make sense. But the one cool thing that happened was, when that leash, like literally I wrapped it around the circumference of his body, and when it was at the front, the first time ever, because it was here at the chest, the dog stopped, and he looked up at me like, so something's different here. And I thought, I didn't know it at the time, because like you said, how so many things are a progression. Yeah. But it was that like, aha, I don't know what this means, but I do know that this is something important that I'm going to have to pay attention to at some point down the line, because I didn't know then that I was going to invent walk and sync. Yeah, well, that's always the great part. There's everything has its purpose, right? To be the inspiration. And just a couple comments here. Joanne was saying that's the number one, your energy and intention. And Anna had said, harness all the way. I use side rings to communicate effectively. All dogs walked with fingertips or any pressure felt immediately by the dog. ... battle over, and then communication begins. And that's really what you're. And I don't use side rings, only because, again, in terms of biomechanics, right? Because my background was as a fitness trainer, like you, and my background was really, really about like how biomechanics affect bones, how, you know, one shoulder being slightly, you know, off center, and just getting people really conscious about their bone structure. And so when I started working with the dogs and the tools that were out there, I started realizing, you know what, dogs are just as vulnerable to misalignment in their body, and we have to be aware of that. So I don't like to use anything that, like, walk and sync. The intention is that when the dog feels the pressure, it's not that they like turn to one side or the other. They just simply back up straight. Like if I was riding a horse, okay, you can take a horse that won't listen to you and turn it all the way, turn its head towards its butt. Yeah. So you have like a one rein stop, but then the horse is completely out of collection. So one of the things that I started to realize is like, wow, when you get the horse soft, like if I was to put my finger here at my horse's chest, my horse is just going to soften and he'll back up straight, but he'll back up in a very collected way. So his mind is calm, his body's calm, and then it's integrated. Right. Where sometimes, with the left or the rights and the directions, one, you could be overdoing it, as I've seen with some of the training tools, because dogs are like either constantly turning to the left or constantly turning to the right. And what happens there is you can get overcompensation injuries. You get certain muscles that are tighter on one side that are looser on the other side, and you could be setting the dog up for potential like an ACL tear, or something goes out in the neck. And a lot of the times, especially what I do with behaviors, I always go to bodies first. I always check bodies first. Yeah. And I do a simple assessment, because I'm not diagnosing and I'm not treating. I'm just saying, listen, I know that most of the time you won't show me what's really going on with your body. But if I can just gently palpate your back and you can tell me if there are places where you are uncomfortable, I have a much better chance of releasing those muscles and then like getting the dog to take a deep breath. And it's amazing how fast their behaviors change. Yeah. So I've just kind of found that using walk and sync is also a really great tool to keep body alignment accurate. And so the dogs they're more relaxed. And it's funny because it's like, I always thought as a trainer, I have to make this happen. It's like, I actually don't even have to make anything happen. I just use physics, and physics helped me, and the dogs communicated with me, and they were like, well, this is what we really need. And I was like, cool, I can help you guys with that, So it's been a fascinating journey, because I didn't start out knowing all of the pieces of it. It's just been like a really cool 7-year journey with walk and sync. But then it's, I had Barney when I was like 22. So I'm like, it's been a 27-year journey of really understanding the depth at which all of these different pieces sort of, pull together.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about it, just was because the appreciation from my perspective as an corrective exercise guy for the humans, and just in general. But I mean, frankly, I had no idea. I mean, I don't know how I didn't see it, but I didn't, right? And I just think that I just thought that this was good. And I realized after that I put in the email, the great debate, a leash or a harness, when I should have put a collar, or a harness, right? But
that's okay.
That's, it is. But I was going to say a couple more comments here. This one, so this is from Susan. So thanks for sharing, Susan. I bought a walk and sync before the 2017 Animal Wellness Summit last year. And I saw her presentation last year. We switched the other harness for this one, both Harvey, our bat-eared pit bull, and I find it much better. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I love working with pit bulls too, because so many times people, different cities are banning different things. And I grew up in the Bronx, and I grew up with like the pit bulls, like when they had like those thick link chains.
Oh yeah. Whoop. We lost her again for
where I went to school. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm back. Where I went to school in the Bronx was, I had friends, and some of my friends were drug dealers, and it just happened in high school, but they would bring these big, like massive pit bulls. And the interesting thing about them is, other than being trained, to do certain things, they're one of the sweetest, coolest dogs around. I mean, to me, some of them are as sweet, if not sweeter, than Labradors.
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends. Just depends on the dog. And last two questions here. You can't see this, but you'll be able to see this after on the replay. So Sarah was asking, what about using a harness with front and back rings so a dog is leashed on both for more control?
For me, I don't use that, and I'll tell you exactly why from a biomechanical standpoint. So when you have front and back, okay, your hands are on both, you land up turning your body and cocking your hips, like to one side. And to control a dog, really this whole notion of like you control from the front and you control from the back, it really doesn't totally make sense to the dogs. The dog's basic control, because what you want is the body and the mind, right, coming together in sync. Because if the mind's off doing one thing and the body's following it, you've got no. If the body's out of whack and then the mind's trying to do something else, you're sort of all over the place. When you have your dog right here at the front, okay, what starts to happen is your dog will literally, like, instead of pushing forward where they push into their front legs and then they kind of get into like brain lock, it softens them to soften the neck, to soften the head. They get out of brain lock and they're softer in their body so they can pay more attention to you. So and as a human, I also want to pay attention to human body language, because as soon as our body's a little bit off balance, it literally energetically signals to our dog they don't really feel comfortable in their body fully. So if they don't fully feel comfortable, they're not really going to be the leader that I need them to be. So I'm going to have to kind of be the leader. And again, it's not a dominance thing. It's just what the dogs know. I'm in charge or you're in charge. I don't really care who's in charge. But one of us does kind of have to lead and have that alpha brainwave awareness just to keep us safe, you know, just to know if any predators are coming out.
Somebody's got to have the chief stick.
So you want to have as much biomechanical alignment in the human as you do in the dog. And the other thing too is the collection point for a dog, to get a dog back into, you know, like fully present mind, body, spirit. It's not at the back of the dog. It's at the front of the dog. It's right here. Like if I put my finger on your chest right here, in about 15 seconds, you're going to start looking and searching your brain for, how do I move past this? Because this is kind of taken all away my power to like push forward. Because here, your dog can brace on the front of their legs. Right? Even on a back clip harness, your dog can brace into their front legs. And as soon as they do, it literally triggers the brain to go into, I'm going to focus on whatever's out there. But when they feel just, you know, again, with the leash, it's got a certain amount of length, right? You start out with 2.5 feet. So when your dog goes to press on that and they can't really go anywhere because they can't dig into their front feet, they stop going out there and then they start thinking and they're like, oh, well, what was it that you wanted me to do? Right? And then as soon as they back up, you praise them right away. You're like, that's fantastic. That's all I want you to do. Just back up a little bit. Just stay with me. The dog then feels safe that the human is being consistent. They're being a calm, relaxed leader because there's no pulling whatsoever, you know, on any of this equipment. And all of a sudden, like the human relaxes, like the lady that asked about the otter hound, right? One of the first things, when you got a big dog and that dog pulls you, you start to get scared. You might wrap the leash, you get nervous. And I don't care how much you try to convince your dog that you really got it. You can't convince them of that unless you're breathing and relaxed and feel grounded in your body. And that's why when people try walk and sync and they try that leash, especially after dogs that have pulled them all over the place, they're like, oh my God, I relaxed so much. And then it's like fantastic. And then you just see in just minutes, right, that the dog relaxes because the human really does get it. I always say you can't pay a dog lip service. You can say whatever you want, but unless they feel it, right, and it's really authentically true, you can't fake it till you make it with an animal. You gotta beat it.
That's what I was gonna say. That really, I'm gonna bring myself back up here again. That is really for me. I'm always like a judge by results kind of guy. So I'm like, okay, marketing or business strategy or corrective exercise seems like it's cool. But the best piece of advice that had ever been given by one of my best mentors and coaches in the field, a pioneer in his industry, Paul Check, he said that don't believe anything I'm telling you, and go out and try these methodologies and know them for yourself. And so that would be my encouragement for you guys. Because now Sarah had said that makes perfect sense. Thank you. So that was great when she was asking about that. And I just say that because I wasn't sure, but I used my core value or principle of like, well, I'm going to judge by results. And that's what you're saying too. Yeah.
Experience it. I mean, walk and sink really, we've gotten so much feedback. You know, people are like, I can't believe this. We have tried everything under the sun. And please understand, I'm not a salesperson. Like, I'm not here trying to sell you walk and sink. We just happen to be talking about it. So I want to give, you know, as much educational information as I can. But I am, you know, people email us all the time and they say, we have tried everything. This is the only thing that we work. And the reason why I get it is because they showed me, this is our collection point. And then if you give us a clear, consistent boundary, which is when I put the flat handles on the walk and sink leash, they said, then our humans feel more calm. We know consistently if we pull, they're just going to stop and we're going to have to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful about it is, you know, I don't think we give dogs the amount of credit that they really deserve for how unbelievably intelligent they are. Think about an animal that doesn't know our language, that's constantly trying to understand what we're saying or doing when we don't even know what we're saying or doing.
Yeah.
We're intending to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time we just don't. Yeah. And it's okay. But to recognize how much these animals are trying, and then to see what happens when you put together a system that's like, oh my God, every step of it, not just does it make sense to the dog, it makes sense to the human. And then all of a sudden, now we've got an incredible bond based on trust, and also not luring the dog to do it, right? Not using their stomach to try to get through their brain, but just understanding where the right points are on the body, that the dog will then come into calm relaxation and knows exactly what to do each time because they easily figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So that's the way I tend to look at it at this point.
I think it's brilliant. So last question here, and this is from our good friend Joanne Bodine. I keep accentuating her last name because she finally taught me how to pronounce her name. And I know her really well, so I'm just having fun. So this is a great question that we can end things off with. Can you clarify, is the gentle leader, is that Cesar Millan's system?
No.
Okay, so that's different.
No.
So Joanne's question is, would you tell me the difference between your system and Cesar Millan's collar system? Well,
I mean, it's totally two different body apparatuses.
Yeah.
Cesar believes that where he wants to control the dog is from the neck, right? Now, understand something too. Like, there are many things that Cesar does, and I think he has an awareness of better than almost any trainer that I have ever come across. There's other things I don't necessarily agree with him about, okay? Now, given the fact that Cesar works with red zone dogs almost all the time, and like dogs that literally they can be put to sleep if stuff does not clear up fast. If you really paid attention to stuff in the dog world, dogs would take care of things pretty quickly, right? They're not going to spend a ton of time doing things. He believes that he's going to get the most control, and I don't totally understand, nor do I want to say that I understand his reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
He believes, especially with a dog that could snap off another dog's face, okay?
Yeah.
You get control of the head immediately, right? And then the body will follow. And in certain situations, I think that can be very, accurate.
Right.
For the most part, if we're looking at taking our puppy, through their life in a safe way, I will start with a harness. The other thing that I will also do with rescue dogs or, dogs that are in their teens, I will get them into the harness because for some reason the harness seems to make so much sense for them. Because again, I understand where Cesar wants to control the head, right? Especially if you've got a dog that can lunge. What I want to do is control the body because the body is going to relax the mind. And when the body is aligned properly, the mind has the ability for the energy to flow more easily and more clearly, and you have a dog that's much more willing to stay calm.
Yeah,
right?
and that's
some of the dogs that Caesar lands up training, my gut feeling, I would love to teach him my in-sync body assessment and muscle release, because not only have a lot of these dogs in terms of energy, has the leadership been off, but a lot of these animals have been yanked around on leashes or were, in the backyard and they had their neck pulled. So much of where the drive for their behavior is coming from is actually their body. So I at least want to provide a tool.
Yeah, because there's a misalignment, there, like you said. And I think you and I did a call with Dr. Erin O'Connor, who's a great animal chiropractor from Naperville, Illinois. She's phenomenal. Her presentations, which I think her one is up today, and she said from a chiropractor's perspective, she knows that there's less required when people use a harness-based system. And she said, and she did, to be fair, she didn't say specifically walk and sync, but of course there's many advantages to it. But she's just said that from her like unbiased chiropractic biomechanical alignment perspective, which again, you look at everything with walk and sync, it makes sense. So Joanne, hopefully that makes sense to you. And then last thing here, okay, so I feel like I say this like last thing and then it's like 5 hours later. So Karen's just asking actually for a little bit of confirmation. It is true that you, hang on, wrong one. So it won't hurt to let Tag keep walking with the branch in his mouth, right? It is the size, the size of my arm.
No,
so he can't swallow it.
The thing that I wouldn't do, like one of the things I would do, if you want to watch the presentation on the missing link of bodies, behaviors, and how bodies and behaviors react, the only thing that I would say with him with that, if he carries it for long periods of time, he's going to pull his head kind of like up and back. So he's going to sort of be bracing a little bit on C1, C2. I would just watch the presentation, and then I can also send you the in-sync body assessment so that you can take that in about 3 minutes. You can test his back to see where he's tight. And the only thing I would say about it is make sure, even if he's carrying the stick for a long period of time, make sure the back of his neck stays soft. That's all. Yeah. Because to me, you can be well muscled, but you can be too tight and cranked, or you can be balanced and you can be cranked. But if you're soft and relaxed in your body and your biomechanics are good and you don't have like a rib out or cervical vertebrae out,
right,
for the most part, you're going to have relaxed breathing that's coming through your parasympathetic nervous system. And I think that's why so many times when I get called in for like dangerous dog behaviors or like, oh my God, we don't know what to do. We're going to have like 50 sessions. Oh my God. And when I do the assessment and the dog like looks at me and and then we go outside and the people are like, well, why aren't they doing it? Like, what'd you do? And I'm like, nothing. The body is about 80 to 89% of where so many dog behaviors come from. And then we have to look at the factors of like what causes that and creates it. Sometimes it's the training tools. Sometimes it's, puppies grow and they're running and they're stumbling and they're not really thinking about their bodies. Sometimes, like in the case of a border collie, and he's like, I could get under that fence, right? And he like bangs his back, but he's in mid-flight, so he doesn't think about it. So that's why, it's interesting that Walk and Sync was created first, because then I went back and I was like, well, wait a minute, but how else can I help these animals? And how else can I teach their humans in a very, very simple way how they can check their backs, how they can keep them soft and supple, and how they can prevent not only behavior issues, but also a lot of health issues that come when the body starts getting tighter and starting to shut down because it's misaligned.
Agreed. And from the basic perspective, just think for us human beings, how much better do we feel when we're not in pain? Right? We don't have a subluxation in our spine, or we don't have tight muscles. And it is the challenge is knowing that what came first, the chicken or the egg, is it metaphorically speaking? Is it that there's a biomechanical misalignment that's causing the behavior? Is it the behavior that then causes a biomechanical misalignment?
where I always start is the body, because the truth is there would be no behavior without a body.
For sure.
So I always start with the body first. And then, like I hear what the humans are telling me, my dog's doing this, my dog's doing that. I'm like, fantastic. Dogs don't lie and bodies never lie. So let me just check what's going on with, your dog's back and just see if there's any points where they're reactive that not are necessarily dangerous, but that they're hiding it.
Yeah.
And let's just start there. In my opinion, this is where we need to go in dog training. Like, you should not be training a dog if you don't understand how to assess a body, because it's telling me that if you don't understand the body stuff first, you're going to try to do things from a training perspective, which could work, but then you still got an issue when you're asking the dog to override.
Right.
And just from having done, I don't know, close to like 800 or 900 assessments on dogs.
Well, it
just makes so much sense.
Yeah, that, and it does make sense to me. And I haven't, it makes sense as I listen to you, and I'd be honest, theoretically, because I didn't do it and haven't done it with Lucy because I can't, unfortunately, now. But quick side note, Sarah was asking, I will be purchasing Walk and Sink, hoping you ship to the UK.
We do.
Okay. You ship, just to clarify, you ship worldwide, because there's somebody I'm from Morocco, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, too, don't hesitate to email me.
Yeah, that was...
And ask me, like, what is the size conversion? Because I want to make sure, like, it's one thing in the United States, if somebody orders the wrong size, very different with shipping rates.
Right.
So don't hesitate to email me on the email that's on the Walk and Sink site, and I'm happy to help you with any sizing or any questions that you have with it. And always understand, too, I'm going to build the best tools that I know how to build and create them in a way that will make the greatest difference based on everything that I know about bodies and behaviors and animal communication and body alignment. But there's also the part, too, that we also have to understand how our energy inside our own body and how, thoughts that we might be sending to our animals might be opposite of what we're saying. Yeah. So there's a second presentation on In Sync with Your Animals and how your energy affects your animals. But it's just a good start so that you really have a very solid grounded place of understanding body and mind and energy all together.
Yeah, that. What did you do? That was your presentation from this year, because this is, to be honest, guys, because I have to get going here. This is gonna be the last three things. This has been phenomenal, by the way, Alecia. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing the summit. I mean, this is what's so cool about it, is being able to share this information with people, because you never know, like somewhere down the line, someone's going to say, hey, you know what I found about this, and you got to check this out. And that's what helps that animal. So thank you for taking all the time that you do to put this together.
You're welcome.
And your team.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yes. Jamie, my wonderful assistant. I would not.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do without her, but she's phenomenal. Okay. So Karen, so this is asking, what I wanted to get to was about the, Karen's asking, how do I get the InSync assessment? So the best thing for them to do, can they get it from the website, or do they just contact you?
They can contact me, or if you go on to the presentation, if you want to watch the presentation, great. If not, you can go all the way to the end of it, and it'll give you the email to email me, and I will send you the assessment.
Okay, to clarify,
it's just, like I said, I put it together, and it's about 2 to 3 minutes, but it really will help you in so many ways be able to have that power back to check and know how your dog is. Because I work with so many people who are like, no, my dog's fine. I'm like, you massage your dog? Yeah, I massage my dog. They're great.
Right.
And then I go in and do an assessment, and I'm not pressing hard. And the dog's like, oh my God, or the skin's cringing. And I'm like, they can be good poker players. Right. So at least this way you have the tool to start to assess, to recognize if there's a challenge that's creating a behavior issue, and also if it could potentially be creating a health issue. But you have that ability to check. You can check them every single day. I mean, it takes 2 minutes.
Well, that's the thing. So Karen, that definitely answers your question. And to clarify, Karen, or pardon me, Alecia, that when you said the presentation, do you mean the first one on day one?
The missing link presentation.
So guys, go on now. If you're on the free version, then you're out of luck, or you can shell out $57 and support the summit with a paid little package. But for those of you who are VIPs, because I recognize many of you on here, like Elizabeth and Joanne and Carla, that are VIP members, you can go to that back and then you can find Alicia's presentation. But also just go to her website, and she's cool, as you can tell. I'm not just telling you she is. She's cool. You can email her, and if you have questions, you can ask her. And I just want to say for feedback for you, because you can't see this, you have to see this after. Karen says thank you. Joanne says thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Lots of great things to think about. And this other one from Carla, this is actually pretty neat. This is awesome. I mean, to me, I think this is the best form of marketing, which is another great for Leash anyways, because I love your system, and that's why I think this is it solves such a pain point. But Carla said, and this is neat, she said, I bought one for my Chihuahua mix puppy. I had purchased another harness and had started out with a collar. She's right. When I got my walk and sync system, my puppy stopped pulling on the leash in about 1 minute. It's the best thing I've purchased for hers. She's a little over a year now and walks on it perfectly. I'm just saying that for me, I'd always say, don't believe what I say, talk to my clients. And I had about a 93% renewal rate with my clients, because I love what I do and what I still train privately. But when I did, I'd say, don't believe what I'm telling you, talk to my clients. And they're like, yeah, it was great. You know, Barney's awesome. And maybe not all the time, but most of the time. And, you know, it's just good. I just thought I'd share that for you, Alecia, because that's good. And then the last thing was, Sarah says, fantastic, Alecia. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And Elizabeth says, this has been very interesting. Thank you so much, Alecia and Barney. I want to try this out. So go and get yourself, get the system. I'm a salesperson. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. When you believe in something and something has value, it is, and she doesn't, it's not like going to break the bank. It is very priced reasonably. I don't know exactly how much it is anymore. Is it $59?
It's $59 if you want to buy the harness and the leash together, and it's $34.99 just for the harness. But what I recommend is, if you have a puller, get the harness and the leash.
Yeah.
Because the system together makes such a huge difference. And I kid you not, when I talk about the subtlety of energy, it's things that we do not consciously feel. And we're not thinking about it, but as an expert, and this is what I've done for like the past 24 years, and I happen to be an expert with energy, the shift that happens, it's so subtle and it's so natural, and people just go, oh my God, you know, like I could have had a V8. Like sometimes people will look at it and say, well, $60, and they're like, do you know how much money I've spent before I got here?
And that's why, Alecia, and that's why, and I say that, and then Joanne said cough, cough, but I will sell somebody a $10,000 training package if they need it. If they only need a $500 training package, they need it. But my strong opinion is, and by the way, for the record, I'm not receiving any financial benefit for me promoting the summit or the harness. I just believe in it, and I think it's something that's really important. So do yourself and your dog, even if you're not really sure, buy it anyways and test it, because then you know that you know. But Carla said in closing here, just saying that they do help. So you help them make the purchase like the correct size. But there is also like a chart on there, I guess, too, that you can like use.
And it comes with videos. It shows you literally, it comes with 3 different videos, and it shows you literally, it's 3 easy steps. Like I made it very, very easy so that anybody can do it. And it's just, to me, I think what says the most, in having sold over 18,000 units, and maybe we've had a total of 30 returned. Do you know? And there's people all over the country and all over the world. So I just said to myself, I'm going to invent it. If it works, it works. I don't know if it's going to work, but if I can send it out to somebody and use it, and they can do it, and they get it, you know, they get it right off the bat, then it's viable. And that's really all I want, is just to make sure that the dogs are safe and healthy, that the humans are happy, that it balances leadership and communication. And the thing that I struggled with the most with my chocolate lab, I don't want anybody to ever have to go through that again, because it was horrible hurting him. It was horrible feeling like I almost had to give him away. And I don't want anybody to have to do that. So, you know, hopefully too, even if you have a dog that's sort of boring, that you're like, I don't know about these behaviors, and I might be thinking about giving my dog away, I have saved so many dogs from having to go to shelters because I was like, here, just try this and just see if it works for you.
Totally.
And, you know, that's my mission of being on the side of the dog to advocate for what the dog can't say, to be able to share, you know, their perspective and make things as easy as possible on both dog and human.
Well, that's awesome. So,
yeah, so thank you.
I think the verdict is out. Everybody should have a harness and have the walk and sync system. It's great, and I think that it's very economical. I think with the work that you're doing is great, and I think it definitely will and can continue to revolutionize and transform the way in which the experience goes with walking your dog. And Carla, we'll close off with this. Just said that you do help with the sizing and also help to make sure that the harness is adjusted correctly. Just an amazing system all around. So, guys,
and if you guys need more information or you want to take online classes, because walk and sync is like the first line of, you know, I don't want to say defense, but the first line of like being able to shift the relationship. 19 hours. You can also check out my website for online courses that I teach on body work, like doing the assessment and also transforming the tight muscles, and also on soul dog relationships, so that you and your dogs really get the most out of why you are together and just have a great relationship.
It's good. Yeah. Well, that's like Sarah said here. I just want to be the best dog mom. And she spelled it the British way, MUM. I think she said she's from the one that's in the UK. And then put in brackets MOM for us here in Canada and the US. But anyways, yeah. So awesome, Sarah. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think that if you're the one from the UK, then you need to get to bed, because it's well after your bedtime.
Thank you guys all. Thank you for caring so much about your animals. And Barney, thank you so much for doing this and caring about all the animals and sharing this awesome information with people.
You're more than welcome. Well, we have, I think I told you about this in closing, Alecia, that, or maybe I didn't tell you about this, but we have, we're doing AWS Live. It's going to be a live 2-day event that's going to be in Ontario, Canada. And so we're going to be, I've told all the presenters just recently, this is totally hot off the press, but what we're finding is that people that are attending, you guys are attending, just like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. I had no idea that all these people were out there, and this is a community that I've been looking for. And it's awesome to do online stuff, but it's even more fun when you can get in, connect, and you can learn and, you know, shake hands. Yeah. So,
definitely.
So it's just, so that is coming down the pipeline, and Sarah is, she's from the UK. So you got to get to bed there. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Remember that today is day 4 at the time of this recording. That's November the 19th. That means tomorrow's day 5. And if you're stressing out, freaking out, being like, oh my gosh, I missed out the first couple of days, it's the Premium All Access Digital Pass is $57, and that gives you access to be able to go back to the previous content. And then it gives you access pretty much until the end of the month of November. And then if you want to join us in one of our paid packages, then you can. And if not, then you take what you can get for free, and that'll be awesome. Any last words?
And it's it's an incredible package, because there's so many different things out there now, and who Barney has, you know, asked to be on the summit, and how the presentations are focused. There's just so much incredible information you can learn, and right from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to, you know, say, hey, this is going on. Oh my God, I got to watch that presentation on homeopathics, or the presentation on massage. So it really is kind of like nice to, it's sort of like your own little book index, but now you get to watch it on video, and you get to listen to the presentation. And it's just you know, how I learned was step by step, and things would come up and I'm like, okay, I need to learn about this. Okay, I need to learn about that. And before I knew it, it was just this wealth of knowledge that I'm grateful for, because it's like I help animals heal all over the world. And they've taught me so much. So, you know, also know that you're wanting to learn so much to help your animals, but also know that they're also wanting you to learn, so you can help them and you can help you.
Yeah, and that's where, that's awesome. You're the bridge essentially, and Joanne said you're hired, so whatever that means, but I'm sure you'll hear from Joanne.
I'm happy to be of service.
All right, guys, well, we all have to get to bed. I've got to go eat some dinner, and some of you in Australia, you're probably just getting on with the rest of your day, and if you're in the UK, then get to bed and get the lavender oil out to help you have a good sleep. And in closing, thank you, Alecia. Thanks for everybody tuning in. And I'll just say this, as I usually do in my live videos, is stay blessed, stay grateful, stay humble, and stay hungry to keep growing as a student in life for lifelong learning. And that's it. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye, Alecia. Thanks.
Bye.
See you guys.